Cannonier gets it done in the 4th round by finding the KO versus Gregory Robocop Rodriguez. Crazy main event result. As subscribers and poll voters on my channel, you guys chose as the majority vote Gregory Rodriguez to win, so it's an unlucky pick for you for this week. No shame in that. I also chose Gregory to win this fight, and he really did have his chances. We will get into the breakdown in just a second, but to start us off here in this video, I'm gonna highlight a couple of things. If you'd like to hear my thoughts on any fight in particular, feel free to skip to any fight in particular with the timestamps that are in the description and the comment section below. I am going to be matchmaking every main card fighter and recapping the entire card while we're at it. But before I get into the card though, I thought I would talk about my own bets and picks for once, to show you guys what I had on this card. If you'd like to skip this part, like I said, timestamps are there in the comment section. We ended up picking a lot of fighters, 6 fighters to be in the confident picks list for this card, and all 6 fighters won, which I am super happy about. I'll run you through all the bets I had in total as well now. I personally had every fighter on this list in a parlay, excluding Youssef Zalal, who was in a solo bet, a single bet, and I did get paid out in that parlay quite a bit, so I was very happy with that. I also added on the 2 WMMA fights in a parlay to go the distance, which also hit. I also had a large singular bet on Jose Delgado, who was previously on the main card but got moved to the prelims, and that bet was for him to get a finish, which ended up cashing as well, so super happy with that. All bets that I had on this card did hit, except for the last bet I had on Youssef Zalal, which ended up being a push, so I received my money back due to it being a decision, no bet. So he ended up winning by decision. This makes that bet a push, so I don't lose any money. Just thought I'd put it as a highlight for this video. Just see if a few of you guys are interested about how I make my bets for cards or who I was betting on. If you'd like to see more of this kind of thing after cards, or even before cards in my prediction videos, leave a comment in the comment section, like the video as well, let me know. Now let's talk about the main event, guys. Jared Cannonier defeating Gregory Rodriguez via 4th round TKO. And I do just want to say this was an insanely high-paced fight from these two warriors. Gregory Rodriguez, although I'm sad that my pick was wrong, he really did get close to finishing Cannonier. Cannonier has always had great recovery when he gets dropped or hurt, and that was proven true once again today. Rodriguez dropped Cannonier twice in the 1st round, but Cannonier came back and had a fantastic 2nd round against Rodriguez by being the striker with more volume after the 1st round. There was talks by the commentary team, and a lot of people were saying the same thing, that Gregory Rodriguez did look to slow down somewhat in the 2nd round, and even I thought that he might be gassing out due to that 1st round pace, but he came out looking fantastic in the 3rd round. He was out-voluming the volume fighter in Cannonier. He was looking absolutely solid, amazing, until he gets rocked by Cannonier and pretty much gets finished by a ground and pound at the end of the 3rd round. He took so much damage before the bell went off. It didn't surprise me when Cannonier was able to get the finish early into the 4th round, because he looked completely out of it. He looked done. He didn't recover very well in between rounds. Very impressive performance from Cannonier, and I think impressive performance somewhat by Rodriguez as well. He really toughed it out. He stuck it out. Although he lost, he's gained some stock with fans, and I still would like to see him versus someone solid in the division. Let's jump in and matchmake Cannonier first. After a great performance against a very solid prospect, I'd like to see him versus someone very solid, and I think the loser of Caio Baralho and Robert Whittaker makes a lot of sense, since their fight is in around 2 weeks' time, and timing-wise, ranking-wise, this is perfect. So that's the fight I would make for sure. As for Gregory Rodriguez, solid performance still. Even in a loss, people need to remember that Cannonier was ranked 7th in the division, so I'd like to see him versus someone inside the rankings still, but towards the bottom of the rankings. I know this person was set to fight Abus Magomedov recently in April, I believe, but scrap that fight and let Michel Pereira fight Gregory Rodriguez. It's a very winnable fight for Gregory Rodriguez, and I think personally, I really like the matchup. I would prefer him having a ranking over Bo Nickel or Michel Pereira too. I think he's a better fighter, and I honestly don't even know how Bo Nickel has a ranking only after beating Paul Craig. So that's insane to me. I might make a video on that in total, just on fighters that don't deserve their rankings. Rodriguez deserves the chance. that's the fight I would make. Scrap the previous fight with a boost. Moving on to Youssef Zalal, running for dear life, but getting the decision win over Kattar. And I can't lie to you, I was pretty disappointed in Youssef Zalal here, and the main reason for it was because you guys all saw it. In this fight, he was extremely happy with his 2-0 lead and just decided to run away for the entirety of the third round. Youssef looked amazing on the feet overall in this fight, showcased great footwork, great straight shots from both stances, constantly switching stances, fast and accurate. His ability to mix up his shots was fantastic. He kept trying to go for that knee, which I loved, but why? Why wouldn't you work for the finish if you were performing so well against Kattar in the stand-up? And honestly, he was probably putting himself in more danger running away with no output than he was engaging and backing up someone like Kattar. This is an absolute lose-lose scenario here for him, because I really do believe that the UFC will not be rewarding Zalal with a great matchup next, even though he should be ranked around 10th in the division after this fight. I 100% believe that. And as for who I would match him up against next, I think the performance doesn't warrant a very high-ranked opponent, and like I said, the UFC will probably not give him a high-ranked opponent. I'd give him someone like a Bryce Mitchell, still a ranked opponent, but lower down in the rankings from Kattar. Try to get a super solid performance or a finish here, and the UFC might give you a top 5, top 7 type of guy in the division. As for Kattar, to me personally, he hasn't looked the same after his last surgery. I prefer he retire, since I don't think he should continue fighting anymore. I don't believe he needs to continue fighting anymore. I'd maybe give him a fun fight in Dan Ige if he does continue fighting. Ige is below him in the rankings. It's a striking matchup. It's a fun matchup, and Ige is coming off of 2 losses in a row. I think the matchup might work perfectly. Moving on to Edmen Shahbazyan, getting a KO in the first 90 seconds of his fight over Budka. This was a very impressive performance. He's always had the skills, especially in the stand-up, to get these types of finishes and have these types of performances. But like I said in my prediction video, he just has been fumbling a couple of performances and potential wins in some of his fights. Glad he's back on track with this performance. Surprised Budka didn't attempt a takedown, but the fight was very short, so I guess it was understandable. As for who I'd give him next, exciting matchup in Magomedov wouldn't be too bad, honestly. I was thinking about this recently. I like the matchup. Most likely going to be a stand-up fight. Very exciting fight to make. And Shara is coming off of his loss now and doesn't know where to go in terms of matchups in the division. Winnable matchup for both guys. Probably lean towards Magomedov if they do end up making that fight. And as for Budka, too short of a fight to even say anything. Maybe just give him the loser of Shadrikas Dumas versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Decent fight there, but yeah, it's a rough one for Budka, man. Hope he recovers. Moving on to Nazim Sadykhov, getting a doctor stoppage win after round 1 against Ismael Bonfim. Didn't expect this at all. Great win on paper, of course. Fantastic win. I'd like to see him versus some decent competition next, and then maybe looking at the rankings after that. But Ismael was having a lot of success and was piecing him up for the majority of round 1, in my opinion. I thought it was a fantastic round for Bonfim right up until he got kicked in the head and wobbled by Nazim. That was Ismael's round for sure. Nazim steals the round after rocking Bonfim, but then I don't know if it was some sort of miscommunication in the corner or whatever, but he looked mostly alright. Still was wincing a little bit with his eye, but the cut and the blood were wiped off. It didn't cover his eye at all, but what they were saying was like he couldn't see, unless he actually had some sort of vision loss or he broke something inside like his orbital bone or something. He looked pretty okay to continue. A bit sad about the final result of the fight, but nonetheless, we will match them up against some fun matchups. I'd give Nazim maybe like a Diego Ferreira. I know he just lost to Grant Dawson, but he's still super dangerous. He finished Mateus Rebecki and Michael Johnson. I think that's a good fight to make before giving him a ranked opponent. As for Bonfim, very sad, but it's a round 1 loss. We need a solid bounce back performance from him to get him in talks about the rankings again. Maybe still 1 to 2 fights away from that. Give him someone like a Thiago Moises. Interesting matchup, but very winnable one for him. It would test how well he does against someone trying to grapple him. a lot in that fight. Would like to see that fight. Last fight of the main card now, Andre Petroski wins the decision over Rodolfo Vieira. And I'm a little salty about this one because I picked Vieira. I thought he could have gotten the decision here in this fight. Close fight, don't get me wrong, but I thought it was more clear for him. He was working in the positions, shooting more, hitting him with some nicer shots, but the judges are all that matters in terms of choosing who wins and loses in close fights. I'd give Andre Petroski someone like an Ikram Aliskerov if I had to match him up, and that's if he wants to jump into competition pretty quickly. I don't know if they would make that fight. Definitely not going to give him Bo Nickel, though, who is the person he called out after his fight. I don't see the UFC doing that at all. As for Vieira, give him someone like a Paul Craig. If Paul Craig's still even fighting, sell it as 2 top-level BJJ guys going to war, grappler versus grappler. Make something with that. I think you've got yourself a decent fight to put on a future card. That's it for the main card, and just to highlight some things of note on the prelims, Walter Walker getting another heel hook submission in the first round. Very impressive win. We had Elijah Smith having a back-and-forth scrap with Morales. Close fight, good showcasing of his UFC debut. And last thing of note, terrifying submission win that Gabriel Bonfim had over Chaos Williams. Very scary looking body and twitching afterwards. Hope he's all right. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this recap. Don't forget to vote on the poll for UFC Fight Night Cejudo vs. Song. That poll is still up, and I will count the votes right up until the day before the card, so don't miss out. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you guys next time.